It is repetition which makes for perfection.
There we go. And then there's the band. There's another circle in the middle. The power ring symbol. Excuse me. Although that's really incredibly straight on from where we are, and that's almost always like kind of where the character is drawn, but this is the flip side. Makes it easier drawing, but let's try something where it's a little off center. Really push ourselves creatively. Oh, new cat is here. Okay. Right, like it's looking that way. It's Mogo 3/4 logo, logo, 3/4 view Mogo. Okay, and maybe there's a star behind it over here. And let's put another green lantern right here. Although it's 9 by 12, so it's a smaller piece of paper. It's a joke. Here's our generic lantern fill-in. He could manifest some Green Lantern hands like this. I feel like Mogo would manifest a 3-finger hand. Alright, but now he's got a little personality here. Like he's playing the piano. Oh, got 4 fingers on this side. This is an AI art-generated Mogo. 1, 2, let's be consistent. There we go, 3. I don't think people have really tapped the full power of Mogo. Alright, I'm sensing people like the hands. Okay. There's one hand, like he's... Let's... Oh, Cat really wants to be on the screen. I'm going to open this other hand. I think partly what I had before was like piano playing hands. There, he's never in this office. So. Haircut. He was definitely created in the punk era, although no, he was created in the 60s, but he didn't get that punk look till the 80s. Am I correct? Guys, can you see this? All right, great. Put the bands on his forearm the wrong direction. I'll fix it with ink. All right, it's going down this way, not the other way. Any of you guys going to Cincinnati Comic-Con? End of this month? Towards the end of this month? Two will be there. Alright. Looks like guys put on a little donut weight. And he's got those big space boots. And then on top of it, he's got a turtleneck underneath a heavy jacket. Probably one of the more warmly dressed superheroes out there, wouldn't you say? I'm trying to think who. Captain Cold. Yeah. And I think that rounds out the shows for me for the year. Oh, New York Comic Con. Never mind. Alright. Let's try to put. You gotta look incredibly pompous and arrogant, even small like this. So hats off to the person that gave him the Moe haircut from Three Stooges. I think if you think about it, some of the very best characters have very strange haircuts, or had strange haircuts. Defined them, just sort of like Jennifer Aniston in Friends, right? Like that haircut, ubiquitous. So let's go through characters that had ridiculous haircuts at some point in their careers. Obviously, Gardner with the Moe Three Stooges ball haircut. Wolverine, of course. I I remember that moment, that very distinct moment when I was a kid. I was buying X-Men as it was coming out. And Wolverine at that point, you hadn't seen his real face. He'd always had the mask on. I think it was like X-Men 98. You know, full, there was a giant size X-Men, and then the new X-Men relaunched with 94, 94, 95, 96, 97. So like maybe a special plus, which was like double size, 4 issues. So 80 to 100 pages in, and all of a sudden they pull off his mask, and you see that his hair mimics the shape of his cowl. I was just so ridiculous. It just had me howling with laughter. Me and Brandon Choi, we were both reading and buying X-Men, and we just lost our minds. Like, really? Underneath his costume, like, does he tuck in each of the little wings of hair? And like, he came into the costume maker at Department X or H or whatever. It's like, yeah, we can make this mask, but it's gonna really impinge on your hair. And Logan's like, bub, you're gonna make a cowl that accommodates my adamantium laced hair. And sure enough, they did it. How ridiculous is that? I want to see a scene where and I think it's happened before, where one of the wings on the cowl get clipped. And then he takes the mask off and you see the hairs missing there too. Then of course Superman's mullet, can't forget that. Deathbird had a similar haircut. Zealot was an homage to Guy Gardner. Okay. Guy is not known as the most sneaky Green Lantern. Walking around, clinking, all those chain links clinking around. Who are the big guests for New York Comic Con? Anyone know? You know what movie I just saw for the first time? Spider-Man Across the Universe. Wow. Visually, what an incredible movie. And I'm watching it going like, oh my gosh, how much time do they have left? 15 minutes. How are they going to resolve this storyline? Wow. How are they going to do it? And then sure enough, you dummy. One thing I liked about the Spider-Verse movie, obviously without spoiling anything, when they go to different dimensions, it's expressed in different art styles. And I think, is it Scarlet Spider? Yeah. He was drawn in this 90s style. He had like this cross-hatching, this cross-hatch reflective glow from underneath on his cowl. Not Spider-Punk. Scarlet Punk, yeah. Very 90s esque, right? And the big knock that 90s art got back in the day was like, this is not, you can't animate this. It's too complex. You can't, right? And it was too complex at the time, or for that thinking. But clearly they can animate in that style now. CGI, whatever. But to have an animated feature or something completely in that over-rendered 90s style would be pretty interesting. And when I say pretty interesting, it'd be like, oh my god, that would be so awesome to see. Just to capture that vibe, that look of that era. Because animation for the longest time was so defined by, you know, Batman the Animated Series, which critically, commercially, beyond touch. But if you liked different art styles and you wanted something a little, not intense, but visually, I don't know what the word is, complicated. It'd be interesting to see a whole project done in that style. That's what I'm saying. It may just be too much. But clearly, the whole Spider-Man movie, it was just so intense. What other things have happened? There we go. You guys all survived the return of school. We had a crazy busy summer here. As many of you know, we're deep into the equestrian world of hunter jumpers, and that's just taking up a lot of weekend time. I don't know if I shared this, but yeah, I think I told the story. Like in California, there was an outbreak of horse virus. Yes, there are viruses, much like COVID, that affect horses, that can be deadly or incapacitate them. And so that was going around, and so rather than risk getting stuck in the state of California, because there's a big national event in Kentucky every August, we decided to do a bunch of events in different states, so that if it got really bad and horses were quarantined here in California, we didn't have to do that, right? And we can go to this national event called Pony Finals in August that my daughter had worked all year to qualify for. So this summer, my wife and two youngest kids, they spent a lot of time in Traverse City, Michigan. I did a store signing there. And so they were there for like 3 weeks, I think. And I went out for 1 week. Excuse me. And then they went back here for a week. And then they were in Kentucky for another 2 weeks or so. And then back here. But even back here, they would go to different parts of California, right? So they were down in San Juan Capistrano, Del Mar, recently. But now, well, school started up, but there's still events that she's going to. They're just in California. So the nice thing is being home. And we've not been home for an extended period of time for a while now. So it's great to be back. Okay. We got Mogo's big hands. So I'm adding Mogo's hands to the cannon. Someday, some Green Lantern artists will go like, "I'm gonna give Mogo like Green Lantern hands." Like, I remember seeing it done once. I don't remember where. DEFCON 4. Maybe you're seeing something I'm not, which is very, very possible. Very, very possible. The thing about symbols and art is that we can take artistic license. So the same thing with this. Like, ooh, this really flares out here. Yes, if you mapped a circular type logo like this on top of a sphere, it might have a different look. Correct. But for the purposes of creating a dynamic symbol that pops, people take liberties with actual planes and surfaces. So this band, this green band, is created by the living foliage on the planet. It can move around. Yeah, yes, that's it. That's the ticket. So it's not a costume. Go ahead and let's do the burst here. Who had Jim will draw Mogo for an hour on their bingo card this morning? There's a lot of ridiculousness. For sure. And we'll add some special effects to this burst, starburst. Is there a Mogo in the Bizarro world? There's a Green Lantern called Box. It looks like a rectangle. That's the shadow of the light. Superman eradicated. The last Kryptonian gone. I'm using this really incredible brush to move ink around on a blank piece of paper. It's an abomination. It's like driving a Ferrari to pick up your kids at kindergarten. I should be doing some fine line, like this kind of stuff. Like, that's what brushes are made for. Instead, I'm using like a large house paintbrush. Just bad. I feel like Mogo should have some moons that are almost like its sidekicks. I don't even know why I said it in that kind of weird voice. Blue lanterns, red, like they're red. Are there red moons? There are red moons. They're blue moons. Wasn't there just a blue moon recently? I believe there was. Correct? Blue supermoon, correct. A moon so cool it has two names. This is the hardest part of the sketch right now, what I'm doing. Inking around Guy Gardner. I gotta correct that shoulder slip that I messed up. Ah! It pains me. That's just because I had that little bit of hair sticking out. I had to do it. If I had just skipped that, that other thing would not have happened. His power ring is on his right arm, correct? Should be. those old DC creators, they were what's the word I'm looking for? They were handist. They were very obvious in their symbolic leanings. All the good Green Lanterns had the rings on the right hand. Sinestro meaning left in Italian, had his ring on the left hand. In ancient times, people thought left-handed people. Well, look, in schools, if you're left-handed, they would try to force you to use your right hand. They thought that was the writing from the devil because it looked so odd. So if you look at all the characters in the DC universe from those eras, if they were evil, it was usually on the left side of their body. So Sinestro. And this makes it really easy to remember. Like Two-Face. If you ever forget what side of his face is scarred, guess what? It's his left side. Cyborg's technically not a villain, but the left side of his body's all jacked up. And he was created in the 80s, so I'm talking about like the 60s and 70s. It was a real thing, let's just say. If you were born left-handed, in a lot of countries, cultures, that was a very bad sign. And they would go to great lengths to fix that. You know who I think did a Mogo? Okay, if someone can Google this. Frank Miller. Can someone Google Frank Miller Mogo? Just say if anything pops up. If Mogo doesn't have moons, he should definitely have. If I were drawing Mogo, the living Earth, Mogo goes back to the family reunion every Thanksgiving. He runs into his older brother, cranky brother Ego, the living planet. It's the Go family. Ego, Mogo, Bogo, Togo, and then the crazy one, YOLO. Maybe all the female planets. I'm assuming Mogo's a male planet, but the female planets. And a low. YOLO, Lilo. This is how content is created. Not everything's going to be amazing. Or even close. You go on these stupid riffs, and then sometimes they're good. Sometimes they're just stupid. But now I'm thinking, did we miss a classic crossover opportunity? Mogo versus Ego? Who created Ego? That would be Stan Lee. Jack Kirby. Mogo. Alan Moore. Joe Staton. Who was the artist? I don't know. Finish the topography of the planet. See how the lines start going parallel here? That's because I didn't want to go over the line, if that makes any sense. But in reality, things go behind that line. Hopefully this makes sense. Like, normally what you would see underneath is the topography of the planet. The band goes over it. So you don't want everything to all of a sudden line up like that. Alright? So you gotta have these white areas like that. Does that make sense? I don't know if I explained that one properly. You're creating a what's it called? What's it called when things line up on the edge? You're creating a false tangent. That's the word. Thank you. Deadlining. It has two meanings. I like that. There's one. This thing, I screwed up this. Okay. And I want to make this bigger so that the two hands look like they're from the same. Okay. And then I did this with a brush very quickly, but the finesse will come with a marker. Very John Byrne-esque way of creating topography on a planet. I don't know what the. Like I said, my brain is not fully functioning today. And there's a whole science to the level of detail, how many dits and dats and dots. Obviously, John, like when he was doing Fantastic Four, would do this all with a brush. When he was inked by Terry Austin, got very I think it was more like with a pen, with lots of little detail like this. So to me, this is like a Terry Austin inking a John Byrne planet effect. Look at the whole Shi'ar Empire storyline, you will see planets like this. Whereas this top part is more like his run on Fantastic Four. And that's some nerdy inking trivia right there. Yeah, Dan Green, he was my first inker on X-Men. He inked, what was it, 248. Very nice guy. So far, I know we started late, but 2 hours seems like a reasonable amount of time to do a sketch. So, I feel like we're pretty good on time, keeping track. Working on a new sketchbook for you all. PK had this lovely idea that I could even look through old sketchbooks that I had in college, and when I was trying to break in and use some of that, create like a prequel sketchbook, so that would be on the works. Then obviously a sketchbook that had stuff like this in it. Yes, more of yes, we will. Yeah, okay. I know what I was going to do with that whiteout. just a marker. And let's get in here and do some markery things. You know what other movie I saw when I was on this? We took a Disney cruise up to Alaska. Did I mention that? Amazing. Saw some humpback whales, bald eagles, ton of those. Brown bear, sea otters. What else did we see? Salmon, of course. Oh, but they have like full-on movie theaters on their boat, right? On their cruise ship. So they had Indiana Jones, Dial of Destiny, which I'd already seen, so I skipped that. But they had Elemental, right? Elemental. It was a delightful movie. I think improperly marketed. I had no idea. I thought it was like Metal Men or whatever. But it's an immigrant story. It just did not come through, at least to me, on any of the marketing. And it was a very kind of Korean immigrant story. I mean, they made it a little generic to appeal to multi-cultures, or multiple cultures, but the director is Korean, so I could see the influences. It's actually my second favorite Indiana Jones movie, behind the first. I think with Elemental, I just don't think a lot of people knew what it was about. A bunch of the Pixar movies lately are they felt more conceptual than something rooted in human experience, if that makes any sense. And thing over here, it stops. Oh, look at this. Create little planets. Something. Make it a little smaller. You know what? Let's add a little grayness area here. There we go. But in all fairness, I haven't seen Temple of Doom in quite a while, or even the Last Crusade. So what's the one? You gotta be careful because it's a note card. It's pretty thin paper, so it will create some major. You gotta flick it less versus like a credit card. Right. So here's an example. I flicked it too much. You got a big star cluster there. Okay, we got enough random stars. We're going to now add some hand-drawn stars. Doing random stars is harder than it sounds. I think as beings of logic, we have a propensity to create order even in the randomness things that we create. So you have to really kind of turn off your brain when drawing. Supposedly, like even when I do clouds or cape folds, I try to really, I don't shoot for any shape in my head. Really try to like leave it open to create something that looks truly spontaneous. Whether that can be truly done or not, who knows? But that's the intent. Even some of these stars I put out are not quite as round as I would like, so I'm going to fix that. I'm going to fix that thing there. Rolling the toothbrush in it and then splattering out in the directions of the light. You have to go through a lot of whiteout to get the star effects that you want. But it's a lot of fun to do. And the last tendril is right here. probably a star right here. Splay out that star effect right there. Whoops. Bring these star fields in a little bit. And we'll do the same thing here. Dial this in a little bit. That were created by the stuff around it. Plot twist. This 0.2 marker started out really nice. Had a really nice tip, but I messed it up. For art to live, you must die. Sounds like a very 1960s comic book title. story title. And might be good too is using this. I just happen to be the output device. So, what a sad way to commemorate our 6 years. Jim GBD. Anyway, all right, we're going to go give this away and then go raid someone. So, very in quick succession, as they say. Right down here. Okay. This, 6. Someone said this includes 6. All right, here we go. Once you see it, it's hard not to unsee, but there it is. Mogo. You know what?